Probably Raj, we can start. Time is 11 and we have 23 participants.
Yeah,
So let us respect their time.
yeah,
We can
yeah.
start.
Good morning. Welcome to this webinar on design thinking and innovation. This is IPQC organized webinar. This is industry-specific webinar we initiated recently. IPQC is basically a consortium of consultants, basically across the country. We are having consultants. They're working in various areas. IPQC Consulting Group manages basically in three areas we are focusing. One is training, one is consulting, one is digital marketing. These three areas we are trying to focus. So IPQC started in 2018, and we are almost having a 10 very senior consultants working in various areas. And design thinking is our focus area in IPQC. So when we consult basically industry, there are a lot of things comes up, especially in design related, product design development related. So we try to focus on that area. Part of that, we just want to train, bring awareness in industry. The innovation is a basic requirement in current scenario. Every organization, they need to innovate to survive. Otherwise, you see the COVID scenario now, many companies are going to wiped out after this thing, because of lack of focus on innovation. You can see in past 10 15 years, many companies, MNCs, they totally disappeared. You can see the Kodak is the one classical example. And the smartphone manufacturers in India, if you see, so many companies were there, totally disappeared. In the last 5 years only, you can see that scenario. Same thing in other sectors, even in automobile, electronics, in every sector, this is repeating. So uh, focus should be on innovation. So there is a methodology. We need a methodology. We need to know how actually innovation can be regularized in the processes, like process approach we want to bring. So design thinking is a fantastic tool to standardize the innovation process in an organization. Dr. Sundar Raman actually comes with a fantastic experience. Today's speaker is Dr. Sundar Raman. He comes with almost 35 years of experience, industry experience. He worked in various industries. He was a practice head in IT and ITES industries companies, and he was visiting faculty for many universities. He has trained across the country in many people in various areas. So we identified his core competencies. We invited him. He readily agreed to do this. Thank you, sir, for coming and taking this session. And this is the actually orientation webinar, basically inputs given about the design thinking process. After that, probably Dr. Sundaraman will explain about how we are going to conduct the course. So please go ahead, sir. Welcome to this design thinking workshop once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, team IPQZ, for this wonderful opportunity. I'm really excited to talk in front of so many people. I guess 100 or not people have registered, and slowly people are getting into this session. So I think probably we may cross 50 or so after some time. Right now we have 32 people.
Yeah.
And good morning and welcome you all for this orientation program. So as introduced by Raj, myself, I come with 35 years of experience, and I started my career as a chemical engineer in a refinery. That was Chennai Petroleum Corporation, which was earlier called as Madras Refineries Limited. So 15 years I was there, and the last 5 years I was in the training center where I used to train operators on the training simulator division. So something similar to the flight simulator, the control room operations I used to train. That's where from the hardcore plant engineer, I moved to the IT side. With that background, then I switched to my career to operator training simulator industry. I stuck there for almost 8 years. Then I moved to IT, hardcore IT industry way back in 2005 when I joined Satyam Computers. And then I was part of the oil and gas domain team. So primarily, we were trying to help the oil and gas companies to computerize their process and various aspects of the IT and IT-enabled solutions. For a brief period of 2 years, I was with HCL as operations director, and again I came back to Tech Mahindra. So Satyam became Tech Mahindra, and 1 year back I retired as the oil and gas practice head from Tech Mahindra. For the last 1 year, I have my own company. So primarily, this company, my company is called Jignashika. So we are into any knowledge management initiative, starting from training or whether it is online or offline, or developing curriculum on multiple topics, soft skills, or hardcore topics related to oil and gas industry or the IT industry. So these are all the different kind of activities. Not only that, so even we were into conducting quizzes in a professional manner. So topical quizzes on variety of topics like digital arts, music, etc. So that is the kind of background. And right now, my company is associated with IPQAC, and we are extremely delighted to be part of this association and taking this specific solution to specific subject to a larger audience. So as I said, when I was part of refinery, I have encountered a lot of challenges in terms of operations. And way back in 80s, I used to actually participate in suggestion schemes. I try to come out with an idea and then elaborate that idea and then put it in a formal process called suggestion scheme. And I think around dozen times I got rewards. So most of the time, the rewards used to be in the order of 200 rupees or maximum 500 rupees. But today, if I'm able to retrospect and calculate what would be the benefit, so definitely that will be in lakhs, and in some cases it will be in crores. So that is the powerful power of a suggestion. So I think each one of us, we have some idea together, but many a times we forget to log into the system. And most of the organization today, they have something called idea junction or idea portal suggestion scheme, but very few people actually participated. So that is just I want to set that context. That is at the end of the whole training program, we have to have a problem solving mindset or even problem identification mindset. So if we have that mindset, then we will be able to take this concept of design thinking and then take it forward to our organization. So with that context, let me share my screen. I guess my screen is visible. Am I right? Is my screen visible? Please raise your hand.
Yeah. Go ahead. It's visible.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the response. So then this today this webinar, as mentioned by Raj, it is going to be something like a curtain raiser for 5 days workshop, 10 hours workshop. 5 day means it is not full 5 days, so it is going to be 2 hours per day. So that is how we are structured. So starting next Monday till Friday, we are planned to have a 10 hours workshop. So this is primarily to give this is something like a teaser where you will be able to get a grip of it. And some of you, if you don't have any idea about design thinking, this will give you some kind of exposure, and you can decide whether you want to take that course or not. So that is the whole purpose of today's session. And next week, this course will be, again, it will be online. Again, it will be online. At the same time, we'll also make it as interactive as possible, because today technology is enabling us to have virtual teams. So for example, if 40 people are participating, then they'll be divided into 4 or 5 groups. And individually, I'll be giving you some assignment, and then you will be discussing that problem for 5 to 10 minutes. So it is not going to be one-way dialogue like today. So today, most of the session, I'll be talking more, and probably at the end, after 1 hour or so, then I'll respond to your question. Of course, if you have any question where you want some clarity, you please raise your hand. And if the question is relevant, I'll answer them as and when it appears. Otherwise, I'll take them in a consolidated manner at the end. So that is why we have structured the whole training process. After next week's program, then we have a long way to go. So this concept, though we try to understand a concept within 1 hour in nutshell, next week 10 hours we'll get much clarity. But if you want to apply it in your organization, then we need to have a homogeneous group. So right now, this audience, you are all heterogeneous group because people from different industry, different background, you have logged in. But when we want to implement that, then it has to be taken as a consulting mode. So we may have to probably, and again, the problem statement of each one of you will be slightly different, right? The nature of problem will be different. So we have to understand the problem, and accordingly, the consulting engagement will be varied. So right now, the whole exercise is divided into 3 parts. Today, this is something called awareness program or orientation or require. Next week, we have a 10 hours detailed workshop, interactive workshop. After that, based on interest, depending on your organization interest, then we can take it into detailed consulting engagement. So here in this 1 hour session, all the 5 W's and 1 H, the 5 wives and 1 husband, all of them will be covered. What are the 5 W's? Who, why, what, when, where, how? So all this will be answered. What is design thinking? Why design thinking? How design thinking can be implemented? Everything will be covered. So before, I think many of us we have a what is that misnomer saying that design thinking is a new concept and it has become a buzzword. But in reality, design thinking is not at all a new concept. This concept was existing for quite some time. In fact, way back in 60s, the product manufacturing, the product design companies were using design thinking, but they may not be aware of this particular term, design thinking, but they were using it. They primarily focus on customers' perspective and trying to design products. For example, normally as a speaker, I used to carry this slide changer, right? I think most of you would have seen a slide changer used by a speaker. The slide changer, it perfectly fits in the form of the speaker, right? So as a designer, I need to ensure that it should not be a long or a broad or a big object. It should be handy in nature. It should properly fit into the form of the speaker. And with a single click of button, the slide should move, and then I should be able to pause it. And then it should also have a laser pointer so that specific points can be focused on. So all the functional features as well as the aesthetic features are kept in mind. And that's how they were designing most of the products. So they were already in 60s itself, they were using design thinking. And later in 70s, the concept was used by city planners and architects to some extent. And then around 90s, there were 2 organizations which were focusing more on design thinking. One was a company called IDEO. So this person, Tim Brown, is part of IDEO organization. Then another organization is the D School. Like B School, there is a D School. D stands for design. D School of Stanford University. So these 2 organizations, they have put a lot of efforts, try to understand and try to formulate how design thinking can be taken as a framework, right? So that it can be taken to any industry. So they came out with a 5-step process framework. And Tim Brown, he gave a definition saying that design thinking is a human-centered approach to innovate things. And primarily, you take the tools from the designer's toolkit to integrate the needs of people and the possibility of technology. So if you see, it is a slightly long definition, but if you see a couple of keywords are very, very important. Number 1 is human-centered approach. So generally, when we talk about innovation, immediately we think of automation, immediately we think of robots, right? Slowly that human touch is lost. But design thinking primarily involves human-centered approach. And perfectly it fits in where we have a lot of human beings are involved. So that is number 1. Number 2 is today technology has become powerful. So we call most of the technologies under broad bucket called digital technology. Under digital technology, what are all the technologies available? Mobility, analytics, right? Big data, and then we have cloud. Even we have drones, robots, physical robots, or robotic process automation. So many technologies have become powerful, And with these powerful technologies, if we have the right approach, we are able to solve several industry problems or social problems. So that's a design thinking technology. Design thinking, the technology is going to play a vital role. You see, I think a couple of some people are asking question or
We will take after the completing your thing.
sure.
We will
Okay,
go to the
right.
Q&A. Q&A.
So if I say that design thinking is quite old, why all of a sudden it is gaining momentum? Why design thinking right now? Design thinking, the prime problem is most of the industries they have reached, they are following some standard process, whether it is a manufacturing company or a IT organization or banking organization, they have some standard operating process, and in that conventional approach, they have reached most of the industry. They are all reached a kind of maturity. Now they are looking for some innovative approach so that they can get into the next orbit, or they can try to use innovation as a tool to increase the productivity or profitability or the ease of operation. So design thinking is offering you a structured approach for innovation. Again, many a times there is a myth thinking that people with only certain IQ level can come out with innovative solutions. But it is a myth, and the actual the fact is anyone can come out with innovative idea if they follow certain process. There are different kind of tools and templates. If you properly use them and with the right mindset, anyone can come out with innovative idea. So the main idea is it is offering a structured approach for innovation and defies the myth that innovation is a prerogative of only genius mind. And design thinking also helps you to collaborate with people. So both in your team, for example, you are offering a IT solution for a retail company. As an IT company, you want to do some design thinking assignment to your customer. Then you are not going as a single individual. You are going as a team. And again, you are not going to talk to one individual. You are going to talk to multiple people. So always there is a collaborative element present there. Then this is also allows you to have divergent thinking when we form, even when we form a team, so only the specific team, the members from specific group is not involved. Even if I want to offer IT solution for a oil and gas customer, my team will have some people from HR department or the finance department, so that they can give unbiased suggestions, right? So they can offer suggestions which are not stereotype suggestions. So it allows you to have design thinking. And primarily, this is helping you to have creative mindset and not the critical mindset. So even right now, more than talking about design thinking, the whole workshop that is at the end of next Friday, my only goal is not to offer design thinking for your company, right? Because you are all joining on your own individual capacity. You are joining. Right now, we are not talking to your company. So definitely at the end of next week, you cannot offer a solution to your company. But what a main message is to make you a person with a creative mindset or problem solving mindset. So that mindset need to be nurtured, and that is what this contest setting is all about. So we want to make you as a, of course, I will be talking about all the 5 steps in detail. Every day I'll take one aspect and discuss in length. I'll share case studies and we'll do a lot of activities. But unfortunately, at the end of Friday, you cannot go and implement design thinking because it involves a teamwork. So only 1 or 2 from your organization would have attended this training program. But at the end of next week, you will become a person with a creative mindset, right? So you will start approaching a problem in a different perspective, right? How to identify a problem and how to empathize with the stakeholders and how to come out with innovative ideas using multiple techniques. So that is the whole concept of this entire course. Let me move on. So when I share this case study, then you will be able to understand what is happening right now and why design thinking is becoming popular. So these are all multiple the Fortune 500 companies: Uber, Facebook, Alibaba, Airbnb. So these are all very popular companies, and even common man uses their services. So it is not specific to specific vertical. So even a common man uses all these facilities. And right now, so are you able to figure out the commonality between all the four? So is there any commonality between all this? So if you are identified, can you just type in yes I have? Type in yes I have in your chat box. This chat box, is it available, Harish? One minute, I am unable to see your response. I think 7 people have responded. Just 1 minute.
Many people responded. Professor, can you see the chat box now? You are getting
1 minute, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. I think right. So I think some of you were able to identify the commonality. So the commonality is, as mentioned by Saman, it is not digital marketing. The commonality is none of these companies own all the assets, right? I think this example would have been given by many people in many forums, but again, I don't mind repeating it because I want to reiterate. Uh, for example, Uber is not owning any taxi, so it is not even maintaining them, or it is not spending money on maintenance. Same is the case for Facebook. Facebook is not owning the content. The contents are given by the users. Alibaba, again, they are not owning any of this, so they only do the provide the platform. So the vendors, they can come and register themselves, and finally the end user can order, and then they will receive the commodity. And Airbnb, they don't use, they don't have any real estate, so they are only providing a platform. So today, by providing a platform, you are able to solve many of the customers problem. For example, I have two grown-up sons, but till they complete schooling, they never used to take autos. They even for attending any classes, coaching classes, they used to go by bus, or they even sometimes walk down. The reason is they find it very difficult to converse with the auto drivers and do this bargaining job, right? They are not so comfortable, and they always get a feel of getting intimidated. But today they extensively use Ola and Uber because they don't have to talk to anyone. So with the help of mobile, they are able to achieve their purpose. The purpose of commuting, they are able to do it. So that is what the customer's problem, right? The large people, they were having a problem. So if I have to travel from Mylapore to Central, so what is the actual fare, auto fare? So is it 50 rupees or 100 rupees, 150 rupees? I don't know. So even if I pay 70 rupees, I feel that I have been cheated, right? So I think I have paid excess. So these kind of mental problems are there. And sometimes you also have the actual problem with the auto driver in terms of negotiation. So now all these problems are solved when the technology is providing you a solution. And every day that is technology is also providing additional features. And Airbnb. So now I need not have to go and stay in a costly place. I can go and stay in a residential place at a very cheaper cost, because whenever I am traveling abroad, I'm not staying in the hotel most of the time, right? I'm going for sightseeing. Most of the time, I come back by 7 o'clock and take rest in the hotel, and then next day morning, I again go for sightseeing. Why should they pay huge money on a 3-star hotel or a 5-star hotel? If it is for business purpose, it's okay. But for any personal family tour or your picnic, why should you spend money unnecessarily, right? So now Airbnb allows you to take a cheaper option, and it is also reliable. So and all these people, they have come out with they have built trust among the users, right? So over a period of time, they are able to provide the trust feeling. So this is a disruptive economy. So in nutshell, now we are slowly moving away from ownership-based economy to the usage-based economy. So here in the ownership-based economy, efficiency and productivity are the key elements. So most of the time, the manufacturing companies, they talk about efficiency, right? So they participate in several conferences, productivity improvement, efficiency improvement. But today, there is a paradigm shift that is happening. So the most of the companies, they want to focus on customer experience, right? Customer experience. So in fact, even even certain things we want to make a difference. For example, in my previous organization, we were talking about our tagline was connected world and connected solutions. Connected world and connected solutions. So once the digital concept has come into picture, and later after 2 or 3 years, then we changed the tagline: connected world and connected experience, right? So we were more concerned about this was actually this involved a lot of efforts because in all our collaterals we have to change this tagline, and the entire mindset of people need to be changed. It was totally a change management process because we want to focus more on connected experience. User experience is very important. For example, when I am using a Ola app or Uber app, and if I find a problem, and if I somewhere logs in the problem, that problem needs to be resolved the next day. That's why most of these companies, they are so agile. So the agility is also important. So every day they want to come out with a new improvement, and this new improvement, even the user may not know that they have made the changes. For example, Facebook, every day they come out with different versions, and the user never feels that some version is changed. So that is the kind of agility they are looking for. So these are all the some of the basic elements in design thinking. And today, startup companies are able to compete and deliver quickly. The reason is they are small in nature, and they have strong people with creative mindsets, and there is no hierarchy. So there is no red tapeism or hierarchy that stops you an idea to be executed. So here in most of the startup companies, people don't mind the level. So when someone is having a fantastic idea, immediately it is taken into consideration, and they come out with it. And apart from that, one major difference is startup companies also pay well. But today, when startup companies are giving a tough fight to a big corporate, now big corporates, they need to grab this market because this market, digital market, or coming out with innovative solutions, there is a huge potential. But unless they change their mindset and the way they operate, so it's very difficult. You may have the power of technology, but unless you have the changing mindset, it is very difficult. So the whole exercise or the whole message of design thinking is to have a different kind of mindset, thinking from customers' problems, customers' pain areas, empathizing. So this is where we'll be focusing more on. And who are all using it today? Most of the technology companies like Google, IBM, Amazon, Airbnb, Netflix, Apple. So these companies still, though they are all big corporate, still they are able to fight in the top ranking companies. The reason is they are able to adapt to these new technologies, the new concepts. Apart from that, a lot of startup companies, they are using design thinking as a process. Not only startup companies and the big corporates, a lot of NGOs, they are using design thinking because NGOs, their core DNA is all about empathy, right? So the NGO may be providing some service for orphan children, NGO may be providing service for old age people. So, but the core common element is empathy, right? So that's why a lot of NGOs also start using design thinking. So the main message what I want to convey is, so right now we may have 40 and odd participants here, and don't feel left out that I am only a manufacturing person, I am only an IT person, I am from banking person. So this concept and that mind shift, it is applicable for all. So everyone has got a takeaway, and if you, whatever manner you want to take it to a larger business problem, then you can take it and then you can apply. Then this slide, this talks about wicked problems. So many times people come and ask me, Sundar, I am already doing a project, a BPO project for customer XYZ. Can I bring in design thinking? Or I am already doing hardware support for a banking customer. So can I bring in design thinking? Yes, you can do it, but more than a conventional project where the requirements are already there, a clear-cut definition, defined requirements are already given by the customer. The design thinking is more applicable for wicked problems. What do we mean by wicked problems? Wicked problems are problems which will not have proper clarity, right? The customer will not be able to give you defined requirements. So he will not give the requirements in 1 page or 2 page or in an Excel sheet. He himself is not clear. He knows that there is a problem in his organization. He only knows ultimate goal. So he thinks that the analyst community has said that mobility is going to play a vital role and it can transform the efficiency of a particular the sector by 20%. So that's all he knows. But he doesn't know how to apply mobility in his day-to-day operations. So this is a clear example of wicked problem. So he doesn't know what problem to be solved. And as a service provider, or you may be an IT service company, or you may be providing them some spare parts, you may be providing manpower services, or you may be providing some technology services. As a service provider, even you may not know what solution you want to offer. So it is totally a gray area. And this gray area, it is also dynamic. So whatever problem that was present last week, it would have either magnified or it would have got diminished this week. So the problem, quantum of the problem and nature of problem will also be undergoing a lot of changes. And these wicked problems, it is not only applicable for customer, it is also applicable for society. So now coming to society, so having listened to me, so now we have an idea. So can you give me an example for a wicked problem, which is very common today? One example, can anyone? When I said a problem associated, yes, bingo. Satish, you are right. Corona. So Corona right now, the entire world is struggling, right? So no one has got a perfect solution. Even superpowers like US, Japan, France, they are all struggling. Some countries are doing well. India is reasonably doing well despite its population and population density. But still, we cannot claim that we have the perfect solution. So this Corona problem, we don't know how it originated, how it got multiplied, and what is the current problem, what is the hidden intensity of the problem, what is going to happen next week, or what is going to happen after 6 weeks. So even the training programs, so will it resume, come back to offline mode? Are we going to have offline one-to-one classroom exercise? So everything is associated with Corona, and how to treat it. So even doctors find it difficult, and several healthcare professions, they have lost their life. And no one has got a different problem. This is a classic example of a wicked problem. Then we have the other challenges, like today we are talking about robotic process automation, right? A lot of IT related jobs which are repetitive in nature that can be automated. So that way it is bringing efficiency to the end customer or customer's customer. But what is happening to the job, right? So if when 10 people were doing the job, now it can be done by one person. So that is what happening by robotic process automation. So this can also be taken as a wicked problem, right? So I want to give job for people, and at the same time, the job given to a person should be value added job. So just for the sake of giving job, I cannot give. So give you the wicked problem. So again, it depends on from what perception you are seeing. Excuse me for a minute.
Hello, somebody raise the hand. Can you highlight the issue? Hello. Hello.
Sorry. Sorry for the break. Yeah.
Professor, there is some issue. There is some 3 people raise their hands. I will just listen to them. What is there any issue? Hello.
I think they are asking some questions.
Okay. So we will answer the questions after this session. At the end,
Yes.
we'll answer. Okay. Yeah, there is Jayant is asking some question. Please, we are your voice is breaking.
Hello, actually, I want to ask how can we use this in the field of agriculture?
We
Sure.
will answer this at the end. We will answer this specific.
Okay.
Professor, do you want to answer right now or you want to answer?
Yeah, I'll quickly explain.
Okay.
Right. So I think in next few slides, I'll explain the 5-step process.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll explain the 5-step process. Then again, I'll come back to this question whether this is applicable in the agriculture.
Yeah. Please go ahead, Professor.
So this wicket problem. So again, I'll elaborate the nature of wicket problem. All that. What are the characteristics of wicket problem? Can everyone go on mute? Okay. Thank you. So this wicket problem, again, I'll elaborate all of them in detail next week. Today, I'm just giving you overview. Yeah. So as I said, this Stanford's D School, they came out with a 5-step process. The 5-step process, the number one is called a empathize phase. So the empathize phase is where you start empathizing with the customer. So it is not empathizing on the customer sitting in your corporate office or sitting in your cabin, right? Or not going through a report in a public domain, internet or so. So primarily you are interacting with the customer, do active listening, and then try to understand the problem. That is what called empathize. So in fact, we are having a process called empathy interview. So for example, I am a what is that? I am a health service provider. I want to go and offer my service to one particular village, right? So at that time, I have to go and talk to my customer and understand their problem as a team. I have to go as a team, 4 or 5 people who go as a team and take 2-3 days and talk to different customer representatives and sometimes even customers. So during that process, we'll collect all the details, not only the vocal response, we'll also note down all their body languages, emotions, and then come back to our office and make an observation. So that is what called empathy process. Number two is called the definition process. Definition phase, the customer would have spelled so many problems, but now all the problems you cannot boil the ocean, right? So you have to do it in a bits and pieces manner. So you have to prioritize the problems of the customer and understand which particular top 3 problems you want to resolve immediately. So again, applying Pareto's principle, if you resolve 2 or 3 problems, and most of the problems of the customer may be solved. So that is what essential, and you have to do it in a phased manner. This is what called definition phase. Definition phase, we are trying to define the problem statement, 1 or 2 statements. So we are not trying to resolve all the issues of the customer in one stroke. Then the third and important segment is ideation. So ideation phase, once you have the problem statement, then you will try to come out with several ideas, innovative ideas. The idea can be standard of giving just a procedure, ask them to follow certain procedures, or it can be a IT solution, or it can be a mobile solution, or it can be a drone-based solution, or it can be just a training program. It can be anything, but you come out with an idea. And once you have an idea, then now you have to convert it into a prototype. So mostly the idea is available only in paper, right? So either you put it in a Word document or put it in a slide and then share it with the customer. But we are not stopping with that. We are next step. Once the idea is shortlisted, then we are coming out with a prototype. The prototype can be a paper-based prototype. So something like your origami style, you can make something in paper, colorful paper, or use a wrapper, what is that, thick cardboard, and then build a prototype, or a thermocol and build a prototype, or sheet metal, you can build a prototype. or if it is IT solution, you can develop something in HTML and come out with a storyboard. So it need not be a full-fledged solution. The prototype and solution, the difference is prototype is a partial solution. You are only trying to explain through a prototype so that the customer is able to understand. The customer, once you show a prototype to the customer feels happy that you have understood their problem, and you are also coming out with the solution, and you are not explaining with Word document or slide. You are trying to explain with a demonstrable argument. So the customer is happy that, my God. So last week I explained, within 2 days, now we have come out with the solution. But again, I'm going to give you feedback, right? So the very first prototype, the customer will not be happy. Then you will give a feedback, take the feedback, and then do another iteration, and then go and take it to the customer. This is what we call it as the last step test. Sorry about the number. The last step is the fifth step. The fifth step is testing. That means you have to continuously take your prototype, take it to the customer, take feedback, come back. So conventionally, what we do, so we collect the requirements from the customer and build something, right? So whether it is a mechanical engineering object or a software solution, we take a couple of months and then go back to the customer, and finally customer will say, "Oh my God, you have not understood my problem. I think there was some communication gap. Okay, you have done whatever I wanted, but right now my requirements have changed." So all of a sudden he may bring in surprise. Either you would not have delivered what he wanted, or you would have delivered what he wanted, but today his expectations will be varying. So that's why this part of agility is coming to play. You have to quickly develop a prototype. You don't have to build a full-fledged solution. Take it to the customer, take feedback, and again do this exercise. It is a continuous process. And this empathy interview process, again, I'll quickly explain, and later next week I'll explain in detail. We'll be doing it as a team. As a service provider, I'll not go as an individual. I'll go as a team, and I'll again talk to several customers and ask lot of questions. And I'll go with a blank slate. I will not have prejudices, preconceived notions, and bias. I'll go with a blank slate and listen to them carefully and ask them questions. Sir, as a procurement officer, every day you are coming to office. What are all your activities? Ask open-ended questions, and then let him give his story. So from morning 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, what he does, and after that, what he does, how does he interact with the other departments. So ask them to speak as much as possible. You speak less and ask them to, you listen more. And avoid binary questions like closed-end questions. Don't ask closed-end question. And again, I will explain all this in detail next week. This empathy interview is the important process in the first phase. Then I have a lot of case studies. This guy has come out with a solution when he found that. So again, I'm trying to say that design thinking is not limited to IT or any technology-related solution. Design thinking is applicable to any field where you start empathizing and coming out with an innovative solution. So this guy is from Hyderabad. He found that whenever he is going to a restaurant, he found the metallic spoons, they are all oily in nature and they are not hygienic. Then he thought about it and he started empathizing about the end users, and then finally came out with an edible cutlery. So you can use this spoon to take your soup, and finally you can eat the spoon also because it is made of edible material. And he also empathized with the environment because most of the plastic spoons, they are going to be detrimental for the environment. This edible spoon, even if you discard it, it is biodegradable in nature. Again, I'll elaborate all this the next week. Then Godrej came out with a portable refrigerator. So what are all the pain points that they have observed in the rural customer and how they came out with a model called Totu Cool. So this is a case study I'll explain. Now, just to, I want all of you to do this exercise. When I said that when you go for a empathy interview, we have to remove biases, preconceived notions. But in reality, as a human being, we always have some kind of notions, and a lot of subconscious mind is going to play a role. So just to validate that, I'm going to conduct a small exercise here. If you have pad, take it out, or you can do it mentally. So this is a very simple exercise which will not take more than 2 minutes. Pick a number from 1 to 10. Pick a number from 1 to 10. Step number 2, multiply that number by 9. Then add up the digits of the answer, previous answer. Previous answer, if it is 26, then add the digits. 2 plus 6 equal to 8. Have you all done? Then fourth step, subtract 5 from the number. The previous answer, if it is 8, 8 minus 5 is 3. Step number 5, find the letter that correspond. Find the letter in English alphabet corresponding to the number. For example, if it is 3, then it will be C. If it is 2, then it will be B. Now the sixth step, think of a country whose name starts with the letter and note it down. For example, if the previous answer is C, then now it will be Chile or China, any country. Then the last step instruction is take the second letter in the country's name and think of an animal that starts with the letter and write it down. For example, if the previous answer is China, the second letter is H, and H animal can be hippopotamus. Have you all done? Now let me open the chat window, and I'll ask you to key in if you are not thought anything other than this. Have you thought anything other than elephant, Denmark and elephant? Or how many of you have thought of, okay, how many of you have thought of elephant and Denmark? Yes, yes, right? Right, because these are all thinking that is coming from subconscious mind. So without any bias, immediately we are able to think of elephant and Denmark. So you have to be a little careful when you are asking a question. So when a customer is responding, immediately you should not react. So just note down what he is giving and then come to do the debriefing in the defined statement. What do you see here? So again, perspective is different. What do you see here? How many of you see good here? Good. Oh, someone is seeing evil. Srinivas. How many of you are seeing good and evil? Both. Oh, both. Right? Good, evil, both. Okay. Something similar to that. Next question. What is he here? Oh, what is he? Victory or victory alone? Right. Victory and defeat, both you are able to see. Cool. Right. Again, depends on perception, right? Like there's so many brain pieces are there. So the key message is depends on how do you perceive. So if you see victory, victory alone will be visible. If you see defeat, defeat alone will be visible. If you see both, then both you can see. So that is what you are saying. That is the importance of perspective. Right. So here, this is a person called Hung Soo Kim. So this guy was studying masters in business in US university. His classmate was a visually challenged person. The visually challenged person was wearing a wristwatch. This wristwatch was meant for blind people, and every 1 hour it will pop out and then shout out the timing. Time is 2 o'clock. Time is 3 o'clock, like that. But that guy will pester Kim. What is the time during the classroom? He said, you are using watch meant for you, and it is giving audio alarm. Then still, why do you ask me time? He says that watch should not disturb the class proceedings, and I don't want people to turn this side and see my face, right? And people should not empathize on me. People should not show sympathy. So especially in Western world, these physically challenged people, they want to be treated on par. So then this guy thought that he is disturbing. So why not I design a watch for him, right? So he tried to design a watch using the Lego blocks initially, and finally he tried different kind of mechanisms, and then finally he came out with a fantastic watch. So you can see the watch here. This watch is having two balls here. One metallic ball is rotating inside the periphery, and one is rotating on the outside perimeter. So with small training or with small instruction, a blind person can learn how to find out the time, and this also looks elegant, right? So on the birthday of that visually challenged person, Kim presented him the watch. So immediately Kim thought that his friend will be so delighted, right? So delighted. But that visually challenged person immediately asked a question which baffled Kim, right? Which baffled him. Any guess of what question you would have asked? So type it in the chat window. What question you would have asked? Why Kim was taken for surprise? So even if it is wrong, you make a guess. Just type in your guesses. What question the visual challenge person asked to Kim? Am I audible? How do I know which is minute and hours, which ball? He has given clear instruction, right? How to find the time. So that is not a challenge. Trying to understand the instruction is not a challenge. He has to explain. So within 5 to 10 minutes, he was able to do the knowledge transfer, and he was able to do that. Very simple response, but still, Kim asked, the visually challenged person immediately asked, how does this watch look like? How does this watch look like? Kim was taken aback. You are not a partially, yeah, my friend is not a partially visually challenged person. He is 100% visually challenged. He cannot see. How does it matter? How does it matter to him? So how does it look like? Yes.
Voice is breaking your voice.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So Kim thought, is it working now?
Yeah, it's working. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thought, so he is 100% visually challenged. How does it matter to him? So then finally he realized that it matters a lot. So as I said, this visually challenged person does not want any sympathy from anyone. So if the watch looks different, then people will see and immediately able to find out, oh my God, poor guy. Suppose if he's traveling in public, then people should not say, oh my God, it's a visually challenged person. Let me show some sympathy. He does not want that kind of treatment. He wants to be treated on par. So that's why he wants to have a feeling that the watch should something look like a normal watch or some fashionable watch, won't be anyone. So the key message in this case study is, as a technology provider or a solution provider, or you may think that you have come out with a fantastic solution and take it to a customer, and win a single statement, the customer may reject it, right? So be prepared for all surprises. So how can you do that? First, you should start thinking from your customer's perspective. Number one, if you start thinking from customer's perspective, that last minute surprise will not come. Number two is you have to go with the agile mode. Develop a prototype, take it to customer and come back. Take it to customer and come back. So if you think that I will take my own sweet time, I will take 6 months to come out with the solution and go to a customer at the end of 6 months, definitely is going to, first of all, his ego may get affected. He'll say, no, I didn't want this. You took 6 months and finally you come out with something totally different than what we expected. So this is the message I want to deliver through this slide. Let me move on. So this guy is called Doug Dias. So he is the chief engineer and GE Healthcare. He was the key instrumental guy in designing this MNRI, magnetic nuclear, what is it, MRI imaging machine. I think most of you or some of you or some of your family members would have gone to a MRI scanning machine. So what is the kind of feelings when you go for MRI scan? So how do you feel? So can you type in your response? So generally, how do you feel? Scared? Why do you get scared? Satish. Sound, okay. Nervous, okay. Oh, about the result, right? Nervous about the result. Okay. So I think the MRI machine is generally kept in a very hygienic place and normally neat, no clutter will be there. So totally the entire room will not have any other gadgets or objects. So it is a huge machine, very neatly maintained, pure white in color. But the moment you go there or you accompany a person, you get scared. First, number one, the attender will say, sir, remove all your personal stuff, not even our mobile phone, keychain, nothing should be brought in. I think all of you are familiar that 2 years back, a guy was taking his mother to a Bombay hospital. The mother was carrying an oxygen cylinder. 24/7, she is supposed to carry the oxygen cylinder. So he carried the oxygen cylinder into the MRI room. And the moment that the machine was switched on, that guy was pulled into the machine and he got killed. So that is the power of MRI machines, right? No metallic object should be brought in. So when the attender is giving all this instruction, the moment you get scared, number one. Number two is you are asked to lie down and then you are sent like something like a stretcher. So you get different kind of feelings, right? Oh my God, am I going into a machine or some other place or a mortuary? So these kind of imaginations will start appearing. Number two. Number three is this machine is going to make a lot of funny noises. So the moment it makes such noises, then this attendant will also say, sir, hold your breath and release your breath. So every 20 seconds or 30 seconds, you have to do all this. So totally it is a scary experience. So if this is the plight of the adults, imagine the plight of children, right? So when Doug Dias proudly, he was the proud inventor or the chip designer of this machine, he was so proud and he went to the hospital. The moment he went to the hospital and saw there, he went to a pediatrics department. And in this pediatric department, the adults, they were using it, but their faces looked pale and they were not that expressive. But the children, they were started shouting, crying, all kind of hangama they were doing. And some of the children, they were also given sedative to make them calm for next half an hour or so. So Doug Dias felt so bad. He said, these children are scared and to minimize their scare, they are being given sedative. So if they are really having any problem, then there is a meaning to give a sedative just for the sake of testing. Why should we give sedative? And always whenever a sedative is given, it will have a lot of side effects. So Doug Dias started empathizing on the children, and then he went back to his office, G Healthcare Division. Then he could not come out with a solution which will take care of this pain area. Finally, he went to this D school and then took the design thinking course. And then finally, he came out with a very simple and a fantastic solution that helped to overcome the pain area of the customers. Right now, I am not going to share you the answer. I'll keep a suspense here. Probably we'll discuss in length next week. So in the meantime, if you want, you can go back and do a little bit of research and then find out what is the answer. So if you are not patient enough, I'm not sharing the answer. We'll come back and then we'll discuss about it. So the main idea is he has come out with a solution, but he started empathizing on the customer, and then he came out with the iterations. He came out with the next version. What is that? That we will see next week. Then another case study. So this is again something related to healthcare. So these D-school students, they were given a challenge statement. This challenge statement was the certain countries, the infant mortality rate is very low. So because most of the children they die due to premature birth and associated jaundice. And the school students wanted to come out with a solution. And they were doing a lot of research. And India and Nepal were the countries where several children were dying because they were all having premature birth. And they thought that there is no incubator in these underdeveloped countries. So that was the assumption they were making when they were sitting in the university. But when they flew down to the specific areas, they surprisingly found that all the hospitals were having incubators. All the government hospitals were having enough number of incubators, but still the children were dying. And then they did little more deep dive research. They tried to understand the problem whole, and then finally came out with the solution. And again, I'm not sharing the answer. We will come back. So just setting the context. So these are all some of the problem statement. How people started empathizing and then come out with the solution. Let me move on to this very fundamental concept, the differentiation between sympathy, empathy, and apathy. Right. So I think sympathy, empathy, all look similar, but we may not have clarity. Can anyone tell me what is the difference between all the three? Empathy, sympathy, apathy. So some participants have mentioned that it is not enabled. So what option is not enabled then? Harish, can you look at it? Is everyone able to see the video? Or was it during the initial?
Which one is not enabled at all?
No, I saw some comments so that something was not enabled. I think it was the beginning of the webinar.
Yeah,
Okay.
They're giving answers.
Right. I think some of you have answered. Yeah, sympathy is feeling sorry and nothing more, right? Sympathy. So suppose you feel that your colleague is having a severe headache. Oh my God, you have headache. Why don't you take aspirin? Why don't you take Saridon? It is more like lip service. You are not directly jumping into the problem and offering a solution. That is called sympathy. Empathy means, hey, don't worry, let's go and have a breakfast. I think you are not yet taken your breakfast. So let me accompany you to cafeteria. I'll get you some sambar. So have something and then have a strong coffee. If you don't feel left out, I'll accompany you. I'll give company to you. Then you are empathizing on his behalf and you are coming out with a solution. That is called empathy, right? Some people have responded. Feeling sorry, empathy, looking. The third component is very important. Apathy. So the third one is apathy. Apathy means you are not showing any emotion, right? So you take it for granted and chalta hai attitude. If someone is not well or someone has got a problem, one of your colleagues is fired in the organization, then you showed indifferent attitude, right? As if nothing has happened. So that is apathy. So people get upset when the stakeholders are apathetic. For example, your customer is having a burning problem. As a service provider, if you are not recognizing problem, so he is not expecting you to find out a solution. Even recognizing problem, if you are not taking any effort, you will get annoyed, right? The next opportunity, you will try to change the vendor and then go to your competition. So that is called apathy. And many times you can see apathy in government organization or not even government, any service organization. For example, your mobile service provider, right? So when you have some challenge, immediately you will not get response. So you go to a bank, so you have some challenge in depositing that check. The machine is having some problem. No one will be there to attend to your problem. So that is the kind of attitude. So that's why I'm saying that more than coming out of the solution, the change mindset, the mindset changes. So again, I'm giving another example. So empathy is just sympathy is just showing concern over others' problem. But empathy is getting into the shoes of others. To get into the shoes of others, first of all, you have to come out of your shoes. Again, I'll explain this case study later. So it is an interesting story about our former Chief Election Commissioner, T.N. Seshan, and his association when he was the first chairman of Tamil Nadu State Transport Corporation. So due to paucity of time, I am not explaining all the case studies. I'll explain. So something similar to that, the CEO of. Can you all go on mute, please? I'm unable to mute people.
CEO to delivery boy of Flipkart. ಯಶೋ ನಿಮ್ಮ CEO first ಇದಾಗಿದ್ರಾ?
My dear participant, can you show empathy to our
Flipkart CEO.
fellow participants?
ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾರ? ಯಾವನಪ್ಪ?
Harish, can you mute people who are? Thank you. So the Flipkart's CEO Sachin Bansal came out with a similar idea of what Seshan did, and that helped them to get the right perspective. Again, I'll explain all that little later. And this is a very, very important message. Sometimes we are so focused on the solution, we really don't understand the problem, right? So immediately we want to jump in and then come out with a solution rather than trying to understand the solution. That is because we are unable to come out with the right solution. So we have to start understanding the problem from multiple perspectives before. So during this, after the empathy interview is over, normally the team is divided into multiple teams, and then we jot down all our problems to a post-it. So actually, the whole exercise is done in a very, very entertaining manner, so that the entire design thinking exercise, it is not only joyful, it is not only you get satisfaction in providing a solution. You also do with a lot of enthusiasm because you are doing it in a very, very playful manner, and you are collaborating with people. So all the problems are written in a sticky note, and then we try to categorize them and then put it in the board, and then finally try to do lot of analysis and finally synthesis. So that is an important activity. So analysis is a different activity, synthesis is a different activity. Finally, come out with a problem statement. And I'll also explain, I think, a lot of similar looking terms: idea, invention, and innovation. So a lot of us, we have ideas, and even people say that I have a fantastic idea. So I told my boss, he is not listening to me. I think many people keep saying that they have an idea. Every human being who has got a brain will have an idea. But how to convert an idea to invention, and how to move invention to innovation, that is where the challenge lies, right? In our organization, even if they have idea challenge or idea portal suggestion scheme, all the ideas are not accepted. Only when an idea is converted into an innovation. So again, I'll explain. So what are all the difference between idea and innovation in my the course next week. So then only the management will accept it. Management will never reject any innovative idea, innovation. So if you are presenting it as a business case, they will never say no. But you are just sharing an idea. People, they don't have time to present your idea or process your idea. So now when you are trying to do an ideation process, as I said earlier, so it is not the prerogative of only certain individuals. Anyone can come out with innovative ideas as long as you follow certain processes. What are all the processes? Different kind of processes are there. One is brainstorming technique. Number two is mind map. Then we have something called Scamper, 6 thinking ants, biomimicry. Think out of your domain. So again, I'll explain everything in detail. Mind maps is a fantastic tool. Next week's course, I'll suggest the right software to download the mind map in your mobile. There are freely downloadable mind map software that can work in your mobile as well as your desktop. So this mind map will help you to get a clear understanding of any problem statement or any subject. And today mind map is used by authors, writers, speakers, movie producers, problem solvers. For multiple activities, you can use mind maps, and in single slide, you will get a complete picture. So instead of this picture, if I have to put all this in the form of bullet points, it may go into 5 to 6 slides. And bullet forms kills people. Bullets, as a presenter, I'll kill people. Right? No one will have patience to read that boring bullet points. But when I present it in the form of a mind map, people will be keen and then they will pay attention. And this will also bring clarity to yourself as well as your team members and your customers. We will be extensively using mind maps when we are doing ideation process next week. Then another notion is that many times when we think about innovative ideas, we all think that innovation is always costly. Need not be. A lot of NGOs are using innovative ideas. So this is a classic case study done by a Maharashtrian NGO. So they are called Aurum. Aurum is the NGO. So they came out with a fantastic solution for school children. The end product was costing less than 10 rupees. But they solved the problem of the student on a specific issue. And again, I'll explain in detail. So now coming back to the question asked by a gentleman, whether design thinking can be used in agriculture. Yes, very much. So if we are clearly defining the problem of a farmer, then we can define. So in fact, sometime back, I was discussing with a lot of my friends and trying to understand the problem of the smog happening in the NCR region, right? In the month of November, October, normally the Delhi region will be heavily polluted. Almost for last 4-5 years, the pollution level has gone up, and the Delhi government tries to come out with innovative ideas like odd number cars will be playing on alternate days, even number cars. They were trying to come out with a lot of solutions. But again, as I said, people are jumping into the solution rather than understanding the problem. And when I did a little more deep research, so this may not be relevant to the question asked by the gentleman whether design thinking can be applied to agriculture, but something related to that. So when I tried to understand that, the pollution was predominantly caused not by industries. Most of the smelting industry or foundry industry near Delhi and Agra, they are all already closed. But currently the problem comes from the farmers. These farmers, what they do is after harvesting, then there is something called stub. These stubs they burn, and the mass burning of these stubs creates huge pollution. And this pollution was it was traveling to the capital city, and the capital city was grossly affected because capital city already you have thousands and thousands of cars and the different kind of automobiles and locomotives. So why do these people burn? Because they want to be ready for the next season of crops. But when I interacted with farmers in Tamil Nadu or Andhra, so none of them were saying that these stubs need to be burnt. Stubs actually they are part of the hay, right? Hay is a what is that eating material for the poultry, right? So the bulls and the cows and calves they eat these. In Tamil, it is called vekkal, right? They preserve it and almost for 1 year they give it as a food for the cow. And why? What is the reason for burning that? Actually, I have not come out to the solution. But when I try to understand that, for some reason, these farmers are burning the stubs. So only when I go there and do an empathy interview, I will be able to find out the reason. When I found out the reason, then I will be able to find out the solution for the Delhi smog problem, Delhi pollution problem. Otherwise,
Professor, the problem is there is no much time between two crops. So immediately they need to make.
Why should you buy? Why should you burn it? You can collect it and keep it in a separate place, right? So people are ready to buy it. People are ready to buy that even for the biomass power generation plants. They are ready to come and buy.
Yeah, there may be one reason. Maybe the water they release immediately to continue second crop. They just want to instant solution.
You may be right or may not be. I don't know. So unless we go to the field and interact with the people, we may not know the solution. But what I'm saying is, people were ready to come out with solution, and even people were suggesting that all these people they are unable to do this people are not giving proper money for that stuffs, so they have to be compensated. And the environment, what is that, green board? That green board slapped a fine on the Delhi corporation or some agency. So they started fining that they are not educated farmers. So the reason, the problem is no one has understood the problem. Even after going through a lot of internet articles, I could not find out what is the. There is no one convincing answer. Unless we go and do a field study, it is very difficult. So even agricultural area, so if there is a problem, and the problem again, a problem in a Madurai district may not be relevant for a farmer who is in Ongole or Vijayawada. So we have to understand the context and find out the problem and then come out with a solution. Then Lifebuoy came out with a creative idea to maintain the hygiene of the school children. Again, I'll elaborate them in the next week's course. Japanese, they had a huge challenge when they increased the speed of the bullet train. They increased the speed of the bullet train to 530 miles per hour or so. So when these high-speed bullet trains, when they pass through the tunnels, they were creating a huge environmental impact. So not in the form of what is it, smoke or anything, but in the form of a sound pollution. So they were creating something called sonic boom. Sonic boom was a huge hindrance to the people as well as the living beings and the birds. And immediately environmentalists started protesting that this train should not be launched. So the main idea of launching this high-speed train is to increase the mobility of the people so that more people can travel and the business can improve, the economy can grow. So again, this is something like a wicked problem, right? So one time, at one side, the railway board and the government wants to introduce high-speed train to improve the economy. Other side, people are objecting and something like a wicked problem. And finally, this engineer, chief engineer of this Japanese train corporation, he took one interesting idea, not from the railway industry. He got inspired from nature, and then he finally came out with an interesting idea. So this is emulating or taking cue from nature is called biomimicry. There are several examples for biomimicry. Again, we'll discuss in length detail. Then this guy Jack Antraka, he is a school-going kid whose uncle got killed. Whose uncle got his uncle faced death because of pancreatic cancer. He was so upset. Pancreatic cancers, when they are detected, normally that will be in advanced stage of almost 60 to 70% stage it would have reached. So once it is diagnosed, the doctor will say that the patient will collapse in 1 year, maximum 1 year. Then 6 months to 1 year, they will get collapsed. Then this school-going kid wanted to come out with a solution, and he was not having any background of coming out with a solution. He tried to use school kits, school lab, chemistry lab, and biology lab, and he reached out to almost 1,000 doctors and medical professionals to come out with a solution, and everyone discouraged him. But because of sheer persistence and passion, finally one Indian doctor helped him to come out with a solution. Finally, he came out with a solution that was far less expensive. Accuracy level was so high, and the doctors were able to diagnose the patients when it was in stage 10% or 20%. I'll again elaborate in detail next week. Then this person from our own Tamil Nadu is from Madurai Hospital, Madurai Arvind Hospital owner, Dr. Govindasamy, ex-military man, got injured in army and finally came and started an eye hospital in Madurai. And how he converted a conventional eye hospital into a totally different kind of setup. He got inspired from McDonald's. So once he visited McDonald's in US, he got a spark, and then he tried to bring in the best practices. So all these examples I'm saying is so you need not have to internally discuss to come out with a solution. You will always get inspired from external. But only thing you have to have open mind, open ears, and open eyes. You have to keep watching. That mindset shift is what needed. So if you have that, then you will be able to come out. Then Reliance Jamnagar Refinery, the world's most complex and largest refinery when it was installed in Jamnagar in 1999. They were supposed to plant green belt. So the green belt to offset the pollution. So that was a huge task for them because as a compliance norms. Unlike conventional refineries, but Reliance thought different, and today they have made a world record by thinking different. I'll elaborate again next week. So finally, when you are coming out with the innovative solution should have market need, that is called human factor. There should be desirability is needed, and it should also be possible for you to develop. So you should have the technology capability, whether it is IT solution or any hardwired solution. You should have the capability. Mere idea will not be helpful. You should have skilled resources. You should have bandwidth to support the solution in the wrong. And finally, it should also make business sense. So you should be able to generate profit, and your customer should get profit, or it should help address customers' problem or customers' problem. Only a solution which is intersecting all the three will be a viable solution in the long run. So even if one of the factors is missing, then the solution will not be helpful in the long run. I am going to share a lot of case studies where one of these elements are missing. And I will also give an example where all the the circles are taken care and the successful enterprises are there. And the power of prototypes. So the prototyping, as I said, it's an important activity. Whatever you say by words, it is not going to be helpful for the customers to visualize. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, a prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. With one single prototype, I can avoid 10, 20 meetings. Simply, I can explain what I have conceived in my mind, and I can express to my customer, and customer can start giving feedback. And during the entire process, you will come across failures. Failures will be taken as stepping stones, or it is only for learning. The caveat is you should learn from your mistakes, and you should also learn from others' mistakes. You cannot say that failure is the stepping stone for success. Failure is a part of the process, and you cannot afford to make mistakes and again and again. Your management will not allow you to do that. So you have to learn from others' mistakes, and you have to not to repeat the same mistake again. There is a popular quote saying that if I do the same mistake again and again, and if I'm expecting a different result, that is called theory of insanity. So no management allow you to experiment a theory of insanity. So first time you can make mistake, and you have to learn, and then you should move on and learn from others' mistakes also. And I'll also elaborate. This is a very important slide. I'll take almost 15 minutes to explain this slide. I'm just giving you an overview, being this awareness webinar. What is the formula for success? What is the power of idea, and what is the power of execution? How does it translate into business worthiness? And during the entire process of innovation and ideation and design thinking, every organization or even at home or friend circle, there will be a lot of idea killers. We need to be cognizant of idea killers, and we need to have a different kind of mindset. So these idea killers will say, no, we tried this for last 1 decade, nothing has happened. No, this will not be applicable for our organization. So I think this guy has joined recently, and new brooms useful. So over enthusiastic person. So all these kind of negative comments, cynical comments will be coming. You should not bet. You should receive it in this left ear and then leave it in the right ear, and then you should have the persistence and patience and go on. But if they have valid comments, then you have to see the merit of the comment. But their critical comments you can ignore and then move on. And this is how the linearly we are seeing how empathy, definition, ideation, prototype. This give you a linear view, but in reality, this is a non-linear process. At any point of time, you come back. For example, I have listened. I have done the empathy exercise. I have defined the problem. I come out with the ideation and then do a prototype. And when I go to testing, then customers say, no, I think the problem stated itself is wrong. Then I'll come back to step number 2 from step number 5. Like that, whatever shown here, at any step I can move on. So it is not a linear process. It is a non-linear process, totally dynamic in nature. So to implement design thinking, it requires a different kind of mindset from the management side as well as the individual. But to start with, every individual who wants to master design thinking, first of all, they should have the problem solving mindset, problem identification mindset, openness to listen from others, openness to understand problems of others. And finally, as the adage says, charity begins at home, empathy also begins at home. So if you are not showing empathy towards your spouse, your children, your team members, your bosses, you cannot show empathy towards your customer. So it is not an overnight phenomenon. It has to be nurtured over a period of time, and it should start with your own close network, like family members, friend circle, bosses, subordinates, peers. Only when you show empathy, you will be able to show empathy towards your customer. Then you will be able to come out with an innovative leader. So with this slide, I'll close my presentation, and now I'm open for question and answers.
Thank you, Professor. Before we start Q&A session, I request participants to access one link. I am sharing that link. Probably if you want to assess your innovation skill, you can fill that questionnaire. So we'll share the results once you come back on next, probably on Monday. So the link is shared on the chat box. So you can fill those questions. We are having a innovation related questions. It's a very scientifically designed. And if you want to assess your own innovation skill, you want to know your own innovation index, this is the one very nicely designed questionnaire. Please, it will take only 5 to 10 minutes, 5 minutes maximum. So we can give you the analysis once you come back on Monday. So with this, we just want one more thing. We will be sharing the course details. All the details will be sharing. Probably now we can ask questions. Professor will answer those. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, actually we are operating into agriculture sector. We are into high-tech farming. So can you just explain me, can we use this solution in agriculture and how can we?
See, your voice is breaking. Can you be little clear?
Yeah, we are in agriculture sector.
Okay.
We want to use your solutions in agriculture sector. Can you explain us how to use this in agriculture?
Yeah, I'll respond. So actually, this question, though you mentioned about agriculture sector, so right now it looks a little generic. So we need to discuss and try to understand the specific problem statement. As one of the participants mentioned, now already technology is playing a huge role. So now the middlemen are avoided the power of technology, right? So people are able to, the supply chain companies, they're able to procure directly from the farmers so that the farmers get the maximum profit. So to that extent, digital and design thinking solutions have come into play. But to answer your specific question, you need to understand the specific problem, Mr. Jain.
Doctor.
Probably I can add to that. Can somebody can mute? There is a lot of disturbances coming. See, agriculture is a very good area actually. Model, you can build a massive model, shared, assets, and you need not invest in thing because ecosystem is developed in India. Already, ecosystem, IT related ecosystem developed. There is so much is happening in agri technology related. There are already well prepared. So this is the right time to make that model, like shared asset model. Like you can, if you are really serious about agriculture, you can bring a disruption. There is a huge opportunity. Like the productivity scope for a productivity improvement is very huge. The problem is the biggest problem is the lowest productivity in the world. So that itself an opportunity for you. Please go ahead and we can help you on that. Thank you so much.
Hello, Doctor. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Srinivas.
Yeah. Yes, sir. It's a nice presentation and I'm very happy to be interacted with you. And I'm happy also the way you are clearly mentioning all the details. in design thinking. And myself, I am dealing with fertilizers actually. I'm the business in agri input business line. So post Corona, maybe we are expecting that this digital kind of marketing will be the key factor which plays a major role for movement of the fertilizers to dealers, distributors, and to the farmers. And how far your experience is this in this line, and if any there case studies or anything which is helping for India to actually, even for our companies like to adopt in future to be in line with understanding the customer requirement and can supply it without like Uber and all, where there is no investment you mentioned like. So is it any such kind of models we can able to think?
Yeah, right now I'm not involved on people who are offering such solutions. So definitely we'll understand your requirement, and definitely mobility is going to play a vital role. Even a lot of transactions can happen through WhatsApp, so dealer management, the CRM solutions. So today everything is, even people need not have to, most of them, they are moving away from desktop to mobility. So with the help of smartphone, you will be able to do all kind of sales, understand the inventory, and then all the complete insight into your supply chain, like optimizing the routes, so how to deliver with the minimal efforts. So all that is possible.
Thanks. So I just want to look at it. Maybe
I just add to that. I just
please.
probably see this in fertilizer. There is a lot of focus on reduction of chemicals, in agriculture.
Correct.
The government a lot of focus on reducing the thing, more of like using organic related. There is so there is a huge opportunity. The main issue is farmer is using overusing the fertilizers. So the precision farming, probably the customizing requirements to the crop needs, there is a lot of IT related integration is going to come. So if you can do the customization, like have you seen Asian Paints, how they mix the paint in front of the
Correct.
customer? Go
Exactly.
to the, so exactly that is the scope in fertilizer related, because they are over using the fertilizers that can be minimized. Almost 1 lakh crore they are spending on fertilizers every year. So there is a huge opportunity, 30 to 40% reduction possible by minimizing the wastage, by customizing and improving the productivity in agriculture.
Thank you. And one more issue is with agriculture is like agri input is like middleman influence and credit. Most of the business depends on credit in the rural.
Sir, which part of the country you are operating from?
I'm from South.
Okay. Any other questions from any of the participants? Any feedback?
We are sharing the course details, full course details link we are sending. One is you can access the innovation questionnaire, one link. And second is the course details, about the entire course details, breakup of all 10 hours, how we are going to spend. All the details is given in the second link. Please go through that. And we are having a small poll here. Harish, can you trigger that poll? Professor?
Oh, 1 minute, 1 minute.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do it there. Their option is there now.
Yeah, I request participants to choose the right slot, so that we can customize further your coming course.
So primarily this poll is to figure out what is the ideal time suitable for you. We are offering 3 slots, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, and the afternoon 3 to 5 p.m. So we'll take the feedback from maximum people.
This is a fantastic opportunity to learn, during this lockdown period. These 10 hours will be more efficient, and you can come up with some innovative idea. And there is a virtual teams we are coordinating. Basically, like you can build your team virtually, and you can complete your project, a small project, prototype, till prototype.
Hi, sir. My name is Koyal. I had a question.
Yes, Koyal.
Sir, I wanted to understand how design thinking is appropriate and efficient in the world of human resource and recruitments.
World of?
Human resource and recruitments.
So first of all, you need to understand the typical challenges faced in your HR industry, right? And then very specific to your organization. For example, the challenges is the HR people, they are unable to for identify the right resources when the delivery team wants with the specific skill set. Right, the delivery team will ask for a resource with certain capability, but you are unable to identify the person. That is the first challenge. Second one is onboarding within 2 months or within a short period of time. So these are all the typical challenges. And again, this challenge will get its own complexity depending on the organization. So though I'm talking about the generic challenges, intensity will vary from organization to different organization. Suppose you want to do within your own organization, you form a design thinking team. So as a consultant, we can come and pitch it. We will ask you to take up the assignment, and then we will form a team and we'll help you how to do the empathy interview. You will go and, for example, your customer is internal. Are you part of an IT organization?
Yes, yes, sir. I am a part of consulting organization.
Okay, so can you spell out one specific challenge you face as a HR challenge you mentioned instead of generic?
Yes, so like you rightly said that in the market where the demand is high and supply is less, for the right kind of talent, and how is design thinking helpful in figuring out the right fit, within the organization. So we all know that the demand goes higher day by day with so much of technology disruption and digital marketplace that we are operating at, but the supply is very diminishing, and
Right.
every organization wants the best to be hired. So at this kind of a situation, how will design thinking help?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for giving clarity to your question. So one message I want to forget to mention is design thinking need not be implemented fully, right? So the key aspects, if you start applying, that itself will start yielding results. The first one is mindset, and then second one is empathizing, right? Many times when you are attached to a particular department, we will start defending what we are doing is right. We never try to understand the other person's problem area. So, for example, if you have to deliver a resource to that particular team within a 1 week, we should understand the criticality of it. And many times I have seen personally, I have seen people saying that I've delivered you 3 resources, but you are not happy with that. So the person who has identified the resources, he has just gone through the key words, and then he would have picked up some resume. But actually, his profile will be totally different. Just in a mechanical manner, they would have. So that is where you have to take the help of the domain consultant, right? For example, if I want to supply a couple of resources, business analyst for oil and gas related customers, then that oil and gas team, that person should be part of this HR team, and then help them to identify the right candidates. So even if it is going to take time, so in one go, you will be able to satisfy the customer's needs. So if you don't have the domain understanding, just by merely filtering through the keywords, you will be picking up the resume and then delivering to the customer. And the customer will say, no, you sent 10 resume, and out of that 9 or 20 not related to what we wanted. So main idea is, no, you have to be open and try to understand the exact problem where it is lying. So the problem identification and then problem solution. So these two are important mindsets.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Actually, in addition to that, basically, when in HR related, there are many matching, optimizing the matching. You can use some analytics tools to match the demand and skill set. These are the areas you can explore. There is a lot of tools, you can matchmaking itself a huge opportunity to minimize the cost in HR function.
Now, that is where just I want to again reiterate. So you may have a lot of tools like the analytics tools or but final validation, a human intervention will be needed, right? So if you mechanically filter something and then share, then we'll have a lot of surprise and people will be grumpy about it. So the human touch is important element. So that is where, from design thinking perspective, so whatever you do, so technology may be powerful, technology may be wonderful, but to bring in that human element. So if the human element is there, then even people, they are unhappy, they will at one point of time they'll say, at least he is listening to my problem. So that will help to reduce the anxiety.
Sure, sir. That answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you. So are we done?
Professor, actually the majority, if you see the polls, actually 3 to 5 is majority is preferring. So when we request participants to go through the course outline and enroll in the program, if you need any clarification, we are available. Our numbers are given. You can
Recording will be available. Please do it.
you can note down our number for any clarifications. You can call us. We will share all the details. I shared the course detail. Given a link for innovation skills. We'll be sharing the results about your innovation skills index when you come back to our course, and we are ready to clarify your doubts in the meantime. Any clarification, if you want to ask anything, please let us know. Entire core details are given on the link, the second link, whatever I forwarded. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Harish, for conducting this session wonderfully.
Thank you. My
Thank you,
sincere thanks.
participant. Thank you. Thank
Raj
you so
and
much.
Harish. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.